Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, we're diving right in today because we're about to unravel what I can really only describe as a cosmic crime scene. We're heading way out to the edge of our solar neighborhood to look at the eighth planet, Neptune, and we're going to completely dismantle absolutely everything you thought you knew about it.
I want you to just take a second and picture Neptune in your mind. You're probably visualizing that classic, rich, deep blue sphere right out of your old middle school textbooks, right? Well, what if I told you everything you learned about the eighth planet was a lie? What if that iconic image you're picturing is actually a decades-old deception? That's right, the planet we all grew up learning about is hiding some massive, massive secrets.
The contrast here is absolutely jarring. In our minds, we've got textbook Neptune, that deep blue classic ice giant with perfectly orderly moons. But the reality? Well, based on recent data from the James Webb Space Telescope and some really cutting-edge 2026 computer models, it's actually a pale blue-green world. It's a rocky minor giant with a literally violent, chaotic history. So let's figure out how we got this so incredibly wrong.
Section 1. A planet built on illusions. Space is incredibly deceptive. Distant planets have this really nasty habit of lying to us, and Neptune might just be the greatest liar of the bunch. Just look at how our understanding keeps shifting every time we get better technology. Back in 1846, Neptune was literally just a mathematical prediction on a piece of paper. Jump to 1989, and Voyager 2 gives us those famous but heavily edited photos. And now in this 2024 to 2026 window, new models and telescopes are just totally shattering the illusion. But to really grasp this whole history of deception, we actually have to look back to a really hard lesson we learned in 1967. And that brings us to the Venera 4 lesson. Back in 1967, a Soviet probe was sent over to Venus, which a lot of people at the time thought was somewhat Earth-like. Instead, 25 kilometers above the surface, Venera 4 was literally crushed by atmospheric pressure 90 times heavier than Earth's, in 464 degrees Celsius heat. The crucial takeaway here is that distant planets hide brutal, completely unexpected realities right beneath their clouds. Keep that in mind as we journey out to Neptune. Section 2. Discovered by pure mathematics. Because long before we could even see it, Neptune was basically a mathematical ghost. Take this note from astronomer Urbain Le Verrier in 1846. He called it an unseen force pulling in the dark. He'd noticed that the planet Uranus was making these weird, jerky movements in its orbit, like it was being pulled by something totally invisible. By doing pure math on paper, he predicted exactly where this ghost planet should be. And shortly after, astronomer John Gall pointed his telescope exactly where the math dictated, and bam, found Neptune, literally just 1 degree away from the prediction.
It's an absolute masterclass in science. But that leads us to a pretty massive, puzzling question. How did a planet discovered by such brilliant math manage to deceive the entire world about something as basic as its color for over 40 years? All right, here is the shocking truth. In 1989, the Voyager 2 spacecraft flew by Neptune and sent back those famous images. But researchers actually artificially enhanced the contrast on those photos just so they could clearly see the planet's atmospheric clouds and storms. They cranked up the contrast, and without really meaning to, they turned a pale Uranus-like blue-green planet into a completely fake deep blue icon. It wasn't actually until 2024 that researchers widely confirmed that the famous deep blue Neptune we all pictured, it never actually existed. Section 3, the ice giant myth. Now that we've peeled back that fake color, we're going straight to the core of the planet to shatter its most famous title. For decades, we've called Neptune an ice giant. But groundbreaking 2026 computer models run by researcher Yamila Miguel and her team revealed something wild. Neptune is actually composed of about 55% rock and only 45% ice, hydrogen, and helium. That's right, the ice giant is shockingly mostly made of rock. Here's the wild part. Deep inside Neptune, extreme internal pressure actually compresses gas clouds and materials into solid rock. This fundamentally changes how we understand the whole planet. Scientists are now arguing it shouldn't even be called an ice giant at all, but rather a minor giant. And the reason this is an absolute game changer is that Neptune-sized planets are actually the most common type of planet we've found in the entire universe. So if we were wrong about Neptune, we were wrong about the most common planets in the cosmos. Section 4, Triton and the moon-pocalypse. Okay, zooming out from that rocky interior, we find an unbelievably violent history in Neptune's orbit. To really grasp this, we need to define what's called a moon apocalypse. This is a catastrophic event where a rogue, massive object enters a stable planetary system and basically uses its immense gravity to just smash all the original native moons to pieces. And this is exactly the terrifying scenario that unfolded around Neptune billions of years ago.
99%. That is the sheer scale of this takeover. 99% of all the mass in Neptune's entire moon system is held by one single object, Triton. But here's the catch. Triton isn't even a native moon. It's a rogue intruder from the Kuiper belt that aggressively dominates the entire system. It even orbits backward, which in astronomy is a massive glowing red flag that an object simply doesn't belong there.
So, what does the aftermath of a literal apocalypse look like? Well, it turns a neat planetary family into a cosmic graveyard. You have Triton, the massive backward-orbiting intruder. Then you've got Neptune's really faint rings, which are likely just the pulverized debris of the planet's original crushed moons. And finally, you have Nereid, the lone, traumatized survivor stuck on a wildly chaotic, stretched-out orbit. For a long time, scientists kind of thought Nereid might just be another captured object like Triton, but a 2026 JWST analysis proved that unlike Triton's foreign Kuiper belt ice, Nereid's ice perfectly matches Neptune's original planetary material. It is an ancient, original moon that got violently shoved into this lonely orbit while all its siblings were just systematically destroyed. Section 5. Fading auroras and deep freezing. Okay, we've covered the fake color, the rocky core, and the absolute destruction of its moons. Now let's look at the eerie, invisible forces happening on the planet right now. For 30 years, scientists have been tirelessly hunting for auroras on Neptune. You know, the same kind of glowing northern lights we see at Earth's poles. Well, in 2023, the James Webb Space Telescope finally captured them by tracking specific H3+ molecules, completely unmasking these hidden glowing lights in the dark.
But of course, because it's Neptune, this discovery came with a really bizarre twist. On Earth and Jupiter, auroras are located almost entirely at the geographic poles, the extreme top and bottom of the planet. But Neptune's auroras? They're located at mid-latitudes, glowing strangely right near the equator. They behave completely differently from what we're used to seeing.
The scientific reason for this weirdness comes down to this incredible number, 47 degrees. That is the extreme angle at which Neptune's magnetic field is tilted away from its actual rotation axis. Because its magnetic poles are so massively misaligned with its physical geographic poles, those glowing auroras just get dragged right down toward the middle of the planet. And well, that brings us to one final, deeply unsettling fact. Since Voyager 2 flew by in 1989, Neptune's upper atmosphere has inexplicably dropped in temperature by hundreds of degrees. And the crazy thing is, we don't know exactly why. The planet is just rapidly and quietly freezing in the dark, and this incredible drop in temperature is actually causing its beautiful auroras to fade and dim. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to think about this quote. A planet found by math has deceived us for decades and is now quietly freezing in the dark. I think that perfectly summarizes the epic journey we've been on today. From fake colors to a rocky interior, and from a devastating moon apocalypse to fading lights, there is just so much of this distant world that remains a total, fascinating mystery. Which leaves us with this final, honestly pretty haunting question to take away. Why is the farthest planet in our solar system quietly freezing in the dark? And what else is it hiding beneath those pale blue-green clouds? Thank you so much for exploring these incredible mysteries with me today. Keep wondering and keep looking up.